The wedding coordinator pulled aside a heavy velvet curtain, revealing a single folding chair in a dim service corridor.
Right this way, Mr. Henderson. The bride has arranged a special spot for you.
Dad, I love you, but you'll be more comfortable back here. The photographer needs clean shots.
23 years he had raised her alone, and now she was embarrassed by his threadbare suit.
The ceremony starts in 10 minutes. The bride specifically asked that the focus remain on the couple, so we appreciate your cooperation.
I understand. I'll stay out of sight. It's her day.
Thank you, Dad. I am sorry. I'll make it up to you later, I promise.
Frank sat alone on the folding chair as the curtain dropped shut, muffling the rising chatter of arriving guests.
He had paid for most of this wedding, yet today he would be invisible.
And so the bride's father, the one who had worked double shifts to give her everything, would watch his daughter marry from behind a curtain. The organ swelled, and through the narrow slit, Frank watched the guests rise and turn.
She looked like her mother on that day, radiant, unstoppable.
Frank's fingers curled around the curtain edge as Amanda passed within a few feet of his hiding spot.
He should be the one walking her down the aisle, not her new stepfather.
At the altar, the groom took her hands, and the priest began the vows.
Till death do us part. Those words meant something to a man who'd buried his wife.
He listened to the familiar promises, each word a small weight on his chest.
At least, the groom looked at her the way she deserved to be looked at.
When the priest pronounced them married, the hall erupted in applause.
And no one knew the father of the bride was sitting alone in the dark, whispering congratulations to himself.
The reception room filled with music and laughter, a world away from the dusty service corridor.
He could hear the clinking glasses, the easy chatter of people who belonged.
Waiters in white jackets hurried past the curtain, their trays loaded with champagne flutes and canapes. One young waiter slowed, noticing the old man in the dim light, and extended a glass of water.
Kindness from a stranger, when his own daughter hadn't even offered him a seat at a table.
Frank accepted the glass with a nod, his voice too tired to form words.
He took a sip. The water was cold, the first thing he'd had since morning.
The waiter melted back into the crowd, and the curtain fell still again.
He was part of the catering now, a detail to be managed.
Outside, the celebration swelled. Inside, Frank sat with his water, invisible. Amanda moved through the reception, her smile polished for the cameras, her dress catching the chandelier light.
Isn't it just perfect? Everything exactly as I dreamed it would be.
Linda appeared at her elbow, clipboard in hand, and spoke in a low, efficient tone.
Your father is behind the curtain as instructed. I've marked the area off limits for the photographer.
Good. No distractions, no awkward angles. Today is about us, not about his situation.
Through the heavy fabric, he could hear his daughter's voice, the word situation landing like a stone. To her, he was now a logistical detail, something to be managed and hidden.
The photographer skirted the edge of the room, his lens deliberately avoiding the curtain, like an ugly stain on a perfect canvas. Outside the tall windows, a black sedan pulled up. Mayor Raymond stepped out, adjusting his pin, and headed for the entrance. A ripple of curiosity moved through the guests, but behind the velvet, Frank was still trapped in his own silence. The mayor strode into the reception, his presence silencing the chatter, as if a stage curtain had risen.
Ladies and gentlemen, an unexpected honor. Mayor Raymond has joined us tonight.
The MC fumbled with his microphone, clearly not briefed on the mayor's visit.
This must be the surprise Mother promised me. A special recognition at my own wedding.
Amanda's heart raced as the mayor made his way to the stage, a polished plaque tucked under his arm.
I didn't plan this, but it's perfect.
Mayor Raymond took the microphone, his expression warm, but weighted with a purpose nobody in the room understood.
Thank you for welcoming me to this beautiful celebration. I am here to correct an oversight. one the entire town needs to hear.
The guests leaned forward, forks resting on plates, while Amanda straightened her veil with a modest, expectant smile. The mayor lifted the plaque, so the engraved lettering caught the light, and the room held its breath. The mayor set the plaque on the lectern, its face turned away from the crowd.
Someone in this room built our children's center and never wanted recognition.
Whispers rippled through the tables. Amanda glanced around, still half expecting the spotlight to turn on her.
That children's center has changed hundreds of lives, and the man behind it is here tonight.
A children's center? What does that have to do with my wedding?
The mayor's eyes scanned the room, not landing on anyone in particular.
But before I say more, I need to find one man. Frank Henderson, is he here tonight?
The name fell into the room like a stone into a still pond.
Dad? Why would the mayor look for Dad?
Silence, complete and absolute, was the only reply.
Linda, tell the mayor my father isn't here. He left early. He had to.
But he's right there behind the curtain. I can't just lie to the mayor.
It's not a lie. It's a necessity. This is my wedding, and I won't let it turn into a circus.
I was told Frank Henderson is the father of the bride. This is his daughter's celebration. He must be nearby.
No, no, no. He's going to expose everything.
Behind the velvet, Frank heard his daughter's denial, the words sharp and quick as a slap.
She would erase me tonight, but the truth doesn't disappear just because it's hidden.
Frank, your town owes you a debt. Don't let us wait any longer.
Frank's hand moved to the curtain, fingers trembling against the heavy fabric. He hadn't intended to step forward, but something pulled the curtain aside an inch. The curtain swept aside, and Frank Henderson stepped into the light.
Frank, there you are. Please, come up here.
This can't be happening. Everyone is looking at him, not me.
Every guest turned, their conversations deadening as the old man in the simple suit walked forward.
23 years of love, and she thought she could hide me like a stain.
I made this day about appearances, and now he is the only thing anyone will remember.
Mayor Raymond smiled, his hand outstretched, ignoring the bride's panic completely.
He would not look at his daughter now. If he did, he might stop.
Frank walked the long aisle, past the centerpieces and the frozen guests, until he reached the stage. The plaque waited. The truth waited. And for the first time all night, Frank Henderson was exactly where he was supposed to be. The mayor lifted the plaque and turned its face toward the audience at last.
Frank Henderson, for 12 years you have funded the Bright Futures Children's Center anonymously.
The engraved brass caught the chandelier light, in honor of Frank Henderson, who believed every child deserved a chance.
You paid for the building, the books, the playground equipment, every stick of it, out of your own savings.
A collective gasp traveled the room like a gust of wind through the candle flames.
My father? The man I hid behind a curtain. He built a children's center.
Amanda's hand flew to her mouth, the diamond ring catching the light just as the plaque had moments earlier.
The town never knew who to thank. Tonight, we correct that oversight.
He placed the plaque into Frank's trembling hands, and for a moment, the only sound was the hum of the chandeliers. Behind them, a photograph of the Children's Center glowed on the screen. Happy children on a playground built by the quiet old man in the gray suit. The mayor continued, his voice filling the silent hall with the weight of 12 years of secret generosity.
He also funded scholarships for dozens of children, school supplies, after-school programs, all without a single public acknowledgement.
The guests sat motionless, their wedding meal forgotten.
Every word the mayor spoke was another nail in the coffin of her shame.
Frank Henderson is a quiet hero, and tonight we finally say thank you.
Frank stood with the plaque clutched to his chest, a single tear tracing a line through the dust of his hidden hours. The mayor lowered the microphone and stepped back, his speech concluded.
Frank, would you like to say a few words?
Frank looked at the microphone, then out at the sea of faces, his voice caught somewhere between gratitude and grief. The offer hung in the air, a bridge he could choose to cross or let burn behind him. Frank took the microphone, his calloused hands wrapping around it, as if it were a tool he'd never learned to use.
I didn't do it for applause. I remember being a child with an empty stomach and big dreams. Every kid in that center is a piece of the future. That's payment enough. And today, seeing my little girl so happy, that's the only honor I ever needed.
He praised me in front of everyone after I shoved him behind a curtain like a piece of old furniture.
The first clap came from the back of the room, a single pair of hands breaking the stunned silence, then another and another, until a standing ovation filled the hall for the quiet man from the shadows.
I thought he was an embarrassment. I was the one who should have been hidden.
Amanda stood frozen at the edge of the dance floor, her white dress suddenly feeling like a costume she no longer deserved to wear. The applause swelled around her, a tidal wave of respect for the father she had tried to erase, and she was drowning in it. The ovation had barely faded before guests abandoned their tables and pressed toward the stage, hands outstretched.
Please, today is Amanda's day. I am just the man who couldn't stop fixing things.
Amanda heard her name from his lips, but no one turned. She had become a ghost at her own wedding.
He is still giving me the spotlight, even now, and I don't deserve a flicker of it.
The photographer, who had spent the afternoon avoiding the curtain, now lifted his lens and captured the real story of the evening. The shot would show an old man in a simple gray suit, his plaque held close, his eyes holding a gentleness that outshone every chandelier. An older guest turned to her companion and remarked, loudly enough to Carrie, to think they hid this man behind a curtain.
That will be the story, that I hid him, that I was ashamed of the only man who ever put me first.
The bride, who had orchestrated every petal, had finally lost control of the room. Frank was surrounded by gratitude, and Amanda stood at the edge of it all, watching her father become the heart of her wedding. Amanda took a step toward her father, but a cluster of guests closed around him again, their gratitude forming a wall she could not breach. She found the plaque resting on a nearby table, its engraved words still warm from the mayor's speech. In honor of Frank Henderson, who believed every child deserved a chance. Her fingertip traced the letters as if they might undo her choices. An older relative stopped beside her and murmured, "Some of us always knew he was worth 10 of the rest. Shame his own daughter didn't."
I can't breathe. I can't be here.
She fled the reception, her wedding train snagging on a chair leg as if the room itself wanted to hold her accountable. In the women's restroom, she gripped the counter and forced herself to look at the reflection she had spent the whole day perfecting.
He paid for this ring, this dress, every smile I wore, and I paid him back with a curtain. I am the ugly part of this story, not him.
She stayed there, alone with the hum of the fluorescent lights, unable to face a room that now knew exactly who she was. Frank clasped the mayor's hand one last time, then melted toward the service hallway while the guests were still buzzing. The velvet curtain still hung as if nothing had changed, but Frank knew everything had. From his jacket pocket, he pulled a worn notepad, its edges soft from years of quiet use. He wrote slowly, each letter pressed with the weight of a father's final word. "I only ever wanted your happiness, Dad." He folded the paper in half and set it on the folding chair where he had spent the evening. For a moment, he paused and looked toward the sound of the celebration, then turned away. Frank Henderson walked out of the venue into the cool night, his step steady but his heart at peace. The old sedan pulled away from the curb, its headlights cutting a path into the dark, leaving the noise behind. It left the note and the wedding behind on the silent chair. Amanda pulled herself together enough to return to the reception, her eyes searching the crowd for her father's gray suit. The celebration had moved on without her. Guests still clustered around the stage where Frank had stood. Her feet carried her to the service corridor, the heavy curtain still drawn, and she hesitated before pushing it aside. The folding chair was empty, but a small folded piece of paper rested on the seat, the only thing he had left behind. She picked it up and unfolded it, her fingers trembling, already weeping. "I only ever wanted your happiness, Dad." She sank onto the chair, the note clutched to her chest, and her sobs echoed in the empty corridor.
I am sorry, Dad. I am so sorry.
Beyond the curtain, the reception hummed with celebration, unaware of the heartbreak unfolding just feet away. Amanda remained in the dark, curtained corner, her wedding veil draped over the note as if to cover the truth of what she had done. The curtain rustled, and Amanda's new husband found her huddled on the chair, clutching the note like a lifeline. When he asked what happened, the words spilled out, every selfish choice, every cowardly instruction.
I hid him behind a curtain. I told them to lie. I was ashamed of the only man who ever truly loved me.
He listened, without interrupting, his face a mix of shock and disappointment.
He's going to leave me. No one could love someone so ugly.
But instead of walking away, he gently pulled her to her feet. He simply said, "Go after him. Fix this before it's too late."
He was right. Pride had already cost her enough.
She gathered her torn dress and ran through the reception, past the startled guests, toward the entrance. But by the time she pushed through the heavy doors, she saw only the red taillights of Frank's old sedan disappearing into the night. The old sedan hummed along the empty highway, Frank's hands steady on the wheel.
He had said all he needed to say, on the stage and in the note.
He pulled onto a gravel overlook and killed the engine, the city lights spreading below like scattered gems. Frank stepped out and leaned against the hood, the night breeze cool on his tired face. A memory surfaced. Amanda at 7, tongue peeking out as she colored a wobbly stick figure of him.
She used to think he could fix anything. Tonight, he couldn't fix their broken bond.
He drew a tattered photograph from his wallet, the two of them at her 5th birthday, both grinning.
He would always be her father, even if she had tried to hide him.
He kissed the photo and tucked it back, a single tear trailing down his cheek. Then Frank Henderson got back in the car, the quiet man driving into the quiet night, at peace with the only thing that mattered. He had loved without holding back. The mayor raised his glass one final time, his voice carrying through the quieting room.
To Frank Henderson, a quiet hero. May his example of selfless love outlast every centerpiece in this hall.
Glasses clinked and even the waitstaff paused, their trays stilled by the weight of the moment. Amanda slipped back through the terrace doors, her veil now tangled, her eyes searching for the one face she wouldn't find.
Mayor Raymond, please. Tell me everything about my father. I need to know the man I failed to see.
He never missed a month. He'd drop off envelopes of cash so we could fix the heating, buy new books. He'd stay and read to the children.
Reading to children he didn't know, while I was too ashamed to give him a seat at my own table.
The mayor handed her the plaque, and the engraved words blurred through her tears.
I hid the best man in this room. I am so sorry.
The reception flowed on, but for Amanda, the music had stopped. She had everything she wanted, and now she understood the price. The photographer, who had captured Frank's tearful smile on stage, now hesitated at Amanda's side. He lifted the camera screen toward her. The image was a candid shot from behind the curtain. Frank bent over the notepad, a gentle, faraway smile on his face as he wrote. Amanda had never seen that expression on her father's face, a profound, quiet love, untouched by the hurt she had caused him.
He was thinking of me when he wrote it. Even after everything, he was thinking of my happiness.
Her hand flew to the camera, as if she could reach through the glass and touch the man who had given everything for her.
I wasted years being ashamed of him. Years I can never get back.
The photographer quietly stepped back, leaving her alone with the image that had shattered her pride.
I will make this right. I don't know how, but I will spend the rest of my life trying to be a daughter he can be proud of.
She clutched the note to her heart and asked the photographer, in a broken voice, to send her the picture. He nodded, and she turned away. The candid smile of her father now burned into her memory, a beacon she would follow into whatever came next. Amanda slipped onto the terrace, the heavy door closing behind her, and pulled out her phone with trembling fingers. She pressed the familiar number, and as it rang, the screen lit up with the old photo of them from her childhood.
Dad, it's me. I am so sorry. I was wrong. I hid the only man who ever truly loved me, and I can't take it back. Please call me back. I need to hear your voice and tell you, I love you. I am so proud of you.
She ended the call and stood motionless, the silence of the night pressing against her like a verdict. Back inside, the chandeliers still blazed, but the grand hall had begun to empty, glasses half drunk, napkins scattered. The DJ packed his speakers, waiters cleared plates. No one looked her way as she sank into a chair near the curtain.
23 years, and she had just now spoken the words he had been waiting for his whole life, to a machine.
She stared at the screen, willing it to light up, but it stayed stubbornly dark. The last guest departed. Amanda sat alone at the head table, the note clutched in her hand, waiting for a call she feared might never come. The old sedan rolled to a stop in the driveway of the modest house Frank had called home for 30 years. Inside, the house was silent. He set his keys on the table, then noticed the voicemail icon blinking on his old phone. He pressed play, and her tearful voice filled the small kitchen, apologizing, pleading, calling him Dad in a way she hadn't in years.
She had finally said the words he had carried in his chest for 23 years.
But he would not return the call tonight. Some fractures needed more than a single apology to mend. So he sat at his worn desk, pulled out a sheet of paper, and began to write. He wrote slowly, as if each letter were a stepping stone across the broken years. When he finished, he folded the letter and removed the old photograph from his wallet, the one from her 5th birthday. He slipped the photograph inside, sealed the envelope, and wrote her name in careful, fatherly strokes. Then he walked to the mailbox at the end of the drive, raised the red flag, and returned inside, leaving his answer to the morning mail. 3 days later, a cream envelope landed on Amanda's doorstep, her name written in a familiar, careful hand. Inside, she found a single sheet of paper and the old photograph she recognized immediately. Herself at 5, clinging to her father's leg. She unfolded the letter, and as the words sank in, her tears were no longer of shame, but of a profound, flooding relief that stole her breath. She pressed the photograph to her heart, closed her eyes, and finally allowed herself to believe that forgiveness was possible.
Thank you, Dad. I love you. I'll wait as long as it takes.
Across town, Frank Henderson knelt in his garden, the sunrise painting the sky in soft gold, his hands deep in the earth.
Some things grow best out of sight, in the quiet, until they bloom.
At the Bright Futures Children's Center, a child pumped her legs on the new swing set, laughing as the wind carried her higher. The brass plaque caught the morning light, and the name Frank Henderson stood polished and true, a permanent whisper of gratitude for all the quiet givers whose love built worlds and never asked for thanks.